This video is sponsored by Squarespace. Squarespace is the all-in-one website platform that will help you stand out online, but more on them later. I feel like I'm becoming the value YouTuber. I make so many videos on how to save money buying watches, but there are so many high-end, amazing watches that you can buy a lot cheaper than their advertised price. And if you can get the same thing for a better price, why wouldn't you? In my mind, time equals money. And if I spend my money willy-nilly, that means I spend my time willy-nilly, which I'm just not here for. So here's 15 watches that offer the best value going secondary. Also, I have a terrible cold right now, so if my voice sounds a little bit different or if my nose starts going a bit red, it's that dang virus. So when I was thinking of watches for this video concept, the Omega Seamaster was the very first thing that came to mind. Starting modern, a brand new Seamaster Diver 300 retails for £5,600, but can be found secondary between £3,500 and around £4,500 for something like the summer blue colorway. Now, moving on to my favorite time period, neo-vintage. Something like, I don't know, the 225450, a watch I never talk about. These are somewhere between £2,000 and £3,000, and probably my favorite reference of the Seamaster Diver. And now, vintage. I feel like we don't talk about vintage Seamasters as much as we should whenever someone says to me, I can't afford a dress watch. Something like a vintage Seamaster always comes to mind for me. These are mostly under £1,000 and certainly under £2,000, and little pieces of history. Girard Perregaux, as a brand, is under-talked about in watch enthusiast circles, and the Laureato is one of those watches I think people are sleeping on. So the Laureato was first introduced in 1975 and still carries that sporty 70s design feeling. These retail for £12,200, but the 2023-2024 models can be found on Chrono24 for £6,000 to £8,000, which, if you ask me, is an absolute steal. Wow, stainless steel puns? No, it was unintentional, but then my brain connected that. If you have the pleasure of seeing one of these in the metal, they have fantastic finishing, brushed and polished surfaces, and a Côte de Genève movement. This channel doesn't talk about Blancpain as much as we should, and we need to change that, and we're going to change it right now. So the 50 Fathoms has a special place in dive watch heritage, with it being widely regarded as the first modern dive watch, as we know a dive watch today. The titanium 42mm 50 Fathoms automatique retails for £17,100. Ouch! It's always a lot punchier than I think it's going to be with the 50 Fathoms. But this can be found secondary for £11,000 to £12,000. Something I should say as well, just because I'm saying the advertised secondary price doesn't necessarily mean this is what they're selling for. If it was me, I'd be trying for something closer to £9,000 for what I would consider to be a fair price. Next, something from Rolex, and I don't think many people will see this coming from the Brit Pierce channel, but a vintage Rolex Cellini. Now, the prices can really vary with the Cellini, but if you're looking for something old and dressy, you can easily find an example for under £2,000, and such a cool choice. So I've had a bit of a thing for the Breitling Emergency since forever, and I don't know why. There's absolutely no reason for it. It's weird, it's quartz, it's busy and garish, but dang it, do I love this watch. So if you want to buy a brand new Emergency, it's going to set you back £13,000, and don't do that. Get something neo-vintage instead. From the 2000s, it's closer to £3,000 to £4,000, and still has, I want to say still has that same charm, but I would say it has more charm. Okay, next, Chopard. And in my humble opinion, Chopard watches are incredibly underrated by watch enthusiasts. We have this weird thing about watchmakers who also make jewelry, and this strange myth that you can't do both, when actually the history of horology greatly overlaps with jewelry and gem setting. Chopard have been making watches since 1860, dating it to around the same time as AP, Patek Philippe, Omega. Rant aside, the first thing that comes to mind for me with Chopard is the Alpine Eagle, which can be found under retail going secondary, but I think there's particular value with the L.U.C GMT One. So the titanium variation retails for £11,800, but can be found secondary for about £7,000. Great looking GMT, look at this. It's awesome. Something different. Love it. Now, let's talk about the best way to stand out online and make a website that's something a little bit different. And that's where today's fabulous video sponsor, Squarespace, comes in. If you're an entrepreneur, managing a growing brand, doing anything online, you need a website. And this is what Squarespace does. They make it easy to create a beautiful website all in one place for whatever you're doing, so you can engage with your audience, maybe sell products, maybe your time. So here's how it works. They have these professionally curated website templates that look amazing. You just choose whichever one speaks to you the most, and then you can tailor it to fit what you're doing, put your own mustard on it using their visual design tools. So here's my personal watch publication I've been working on, slowly, very slowly, at my own pace. I have a newborn though. But it's been such a fun way to work on my writing and to have a project with my husband around watches. Maybe you're thinking, I don't have time for this, baby. I need something quicker. I need something easier. Well, let me tell you about Squarespace Blueprint AI. You can build a website from scratch by plugging in a few prompt words, choosing a writing style, and bam, yes, website done, but still fully customizable to make sure it is the perfect reflection of you. Then, when it comes time to launch your website, it is optimized to every device. Horizontal, vertical, computer screens, phone screens, however people are looking at your website, it is going to look good. Honestly, I love partnering with Squarespace. I've been using them long before they were a channel sponsor, and I'll be using them long after. Unless they want to be a channel sponsor forever and ever. If this is sounding good, head to squarespace.com/BritPierce. Link is in my description. Click my link so they know I sent you, and you can save 10% off your first website or domain. Yes, save that money, click that link, use my link, and thank you so much to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. I am rapidly declining here. Okay. I am such a big fan of the Glashutte Original SeaQ. If you've got a bit more money and you want a great diver that's something a bit different, this is the way forward. It's pretty expensive. So the SeaQ is more expensive than the Submariner Date at retail, but there's some big savings going secondary. It's closer to 6,000 to 7,000 pounds secondary, which is an absolute steal. Let's talk IWC. For me, this has been the year of IWC with the release of the Eternal Calendar, which I would argue is the most important piece we've seen out in a while, and the Ingenieur still going strong. I feel like IWC is tapping into something, they're cooking up something, and these next few years are going to be really massive for them. So yeah, there's some good deals to be had going secondary on modern pieces. But it's neo-vintage that has my heart going at the moment. You can get some weird and wonderful Porsche designs, an IWC Portofino perpetual calendar, like a yellow gold perpetual calendar for 8,000 pounds is insane. Or look at this. I can't stop thinking about this watch, the IWC Yacht Club 2, out of the box, really different Genta design. Look at it on the wrist. I've been doing that thing where I send lowball offers on Chrono24 and hoping for the best. No takers yet, but hopefully. Does anyone else send out lowball offers on Chrono24? Is there anyone else who's being that annoying person? I don't know. Let me know in the comments. Next, Jaeger-LeCoultre, and oh my gosh, there is so much value to be found in JLC. The best value, in my humble opinion, is the Master Control Date. So these retail for 8,700 pounds, but are more around 3,000 pounds secondary. Amazing value, amazing watch, but I am biased. My husband wore a JLC Master Control Date on our wedding day, so this will forever have a soft spot in my heart. Very cool watch, a sporty dress watch. It's the dress watch for people who don't like dress watches. It's a Brit Pierce video, so we all knew Cartier was going to come up at some point. And this is that point. So this is the exact Santos I can't stop thinking about, a two-tone neo-vintage number. I like the full steel, but there's something about a two-tone Cartier. I also like the full gold, but I just don't think they're as great of value. 2,000 pounds to 4,000 pounds for two-tone. Boom, yes, sign me up. The Zenith Chronomaster Sport is fantastic and honestly underpriced going secondary, and I really need to emphasize how criminally low I think these are going for. So these retail for £10,200, but tend to be between £5,000 and £6,000 on the secondary market. In my humble opinion, the retail price is a bit high on these. I think they should be priced at £8,500 or about $10,000-ish. But to get one for £5,000 is insane value for money. Breguet is one of the most well-respected names in watchmaking, stemming from Abraham Louis Breguet, one of the most important watchmakers of the 18th and 19th century. I would never discourage someone from buying a Breguet, but I would discourage someone from buying one full price at retail. One of my favorite watches in the modern catalog is the Classique, quintessential Breguet with the hands, classical design aesthetic. But if you hop over to Chrono24, you can find a time-only Classique at a fraction of the price. If you're wanting to add a Breguet to the collection, I'd highly recommend something neo-vintage, and I'd personally go for manual winding. There's something about a manual winding dress watch that's just, mwah, chef kiss. Moving into Holy Trinity, and oh my gosh, there's so many deals to be had. If you're wanting a Vacheron Constantin Overseas, the 41mm black dial and blue dial are both under retail now. But if it was me and my money, I'd personally be going for something like this, the historique 1942 triple calendar, but that's just me. So this watch was discontinued earlier this year, which I think was an under-talked about thing. These used to retail for £23,200 or about $28,000 USD, but can be found at secondary for £12,000 to £14,000, or at least that's their listed price. They tend to be trading hands nearer to £11,000 these days. This is a very, very good price for this watch. So there's this big misconception that a lot of Patek Philippe's trade over their retail value on the secondary market, which is not true. I'd actually say most of the catalog can be purchased under retail when going secondary. Like the 5236P inline calendar retails for £121,000, and these are going for under £80,000 secondary. Insane savings if you're in this kind of buying demographic. But in my humble opinion, one of the most underappreciated Pateks is the 5212A weekly calendar. This is the weirdest, most un-Patek model in their current catalog, only available in stainless steel, a weird handwritten font on the dial. It's just odd and I love it. So these retail for £33,500. Ouch, but they are nearer $28,000 going secondary, and I think these are only gonna keep coming down. And that's it, guys. That's all I have to say. Was this 15? I feel so sure that this was 15. Here's 15 watches that I think are a steal when going secondary. I feel like I've been talking for so long. This video feels extra long, but I can't tell if it feels even longer because I have a cold. Yeah. I hate being sick, and I think I'm only going to keep getting more sick all the time because I have a child who likes going to soft plays. So this is my life now. Friendly reminder, if you are buying secondhand, make sure you're doing so through trustworthy boutiques and dealers. If you're based in London, Somlo's is second to none, Subdial is my next stop, Watchfinder & Co. Then worldwide we've got Chrono24, Bob's Watches, Watchbox, who are now calling themselves the 1916 Company. Thank you to Squarespace for once again sponsoring another video. Drop a comment of watches that are good find secondary that maybe I missed. Subscribe if you haven't already. And now, the Pope tier patrons, put their names on the screen. Let's go. Ugh. Nothing is working. I just feel awful. But you know what does make me feel slightly better and always will? The gorgeous, fabulous, amazing Pope tier patrons. The names on this screen. Thank you to new Pope tier patrons. Thank you to the older ones, the ones who have been along the journey for longer. Just thank you, everyone. You're all amazing. You keep the lights on here at Gringa HQ. And all Patreon dollars, all the money made from Patreon goes right back into the channel and hopefully making better content. Yeah.